Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a little video today that I think you'll find really interesting, and I just posted this on Facebook. I asked the question, I said, did one of the secret police go on to murder somebody else? And then I explained, we're going to look at it here in a second. I explained what the secret police are and the history of how they had to pay to get them identified, and what their names are. But I'm sure some people are going to be surprised to learn that those secret police, which I call criminals, right? I mean, they hid the police report from me. It took 6 years to get them identified. That one of them went on to murder somebody else. That's one that I know of, possibly more. It's very possible that one of the secret police or a group of the secret police are the ones that tried to murder me, from under my home. And that's still unknown, but I'm gonna show you what I got here. It's gonna be real interesting. Okay, what I did here. Okay, this is the Facebook post today. It says, did a secret police go on to murder somebody else? There is one that I know of, but probably more. Okay, and my first comment here, and I'm gonna read this short read to you. It says, let me explain who the secret police are before I reveal who was murdered by one of them. Okay, when I returned from the hospital after I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with burglar alarms from the attic, January 28, 2012, I found pictures of police on my security cameras at my home that I couldn't identify because the incriminating police report for this night was illegally and unknowingly being withheld from me. Okay, and I had pictures, but I didn't have any names, okay? And secret police are illegal. I mean, that's why I call them criminals, right? I contacted the Midland Police Department, the sheriff, the AG, the mayor, city council, and others, but nobody would name them, so I finally nicknamed them the secret police and offered a $2,000 reward. This was the first time in the history of America that a crime victim had to offer a reward to identify police, but not a news story in the nation. It's been unprecedented lawlessness. I used to call them the first known secret police since Nazi Germany, because the Gestapo was the Nazi secret police involved in all the murders. Okay, secret police are just scary in itself, and that's what we got here. So here's the history. Shot in January 2012. In 2018, after 6 years of death threats, repeated break-ins to my home, and many people asking to order me to sell my home, Empire Private Investigations identifies all 11 of the secret police. They collected the $2,000 reward. In 2019, it was found out there was a police report all along, and it showed that 6 of the 11 secret police had their names omitted from the report as if they were not at my home, but we know they were because they accidentally started a camera and caught themselves here. More importantly, it's time-stamped 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, as being at or inside my home when they were not seen arriving on the front security cameras that had seen Woodward and Nagler arriving 4 minutes earlier. That's very important. And that explains why they hid that police report. With extra locks on my doors due to the repeated crimes I had been reporting to the police, I knew this meant they came into my home from a now-removed trapdoor that I'd been shot from and the ex-wife had already told me about. Based on this evidence, it looks like it was police that tried to murder me inside my own home, which explains why they were tampering with evidence and lying on the police reports. They're now conspiring together to terrorize me into selling my property and moving. And why? Because there's an underground home in the backyard. There's hidden underground access. That underground home's where they was having the oil show parties and where a young girl was murdered at in 2010. And of course, the previous owner of my home died the week before the 2008 oil show started. These are the names of the 11 secret police, and one of them went on to murder somebody else. Do you know who that was? That's my question. Okay, that's what this Facebook's post about. And I've shared this many times. This was from video right here, and this was 19 minutes after I crawled out, and we see the first 2 police officers arrive, okay? And now we know they got identified 6 years later. The first one to arrive was Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, and this is Midland County. Nobody's explained why a sheriff from a whole different county in Texas was at my home minutes after a murder attempt, okay? That's the level of lawlessness going on. And actually, I think Woodward was married to a reporter at the time, Devin Sanchez, and you know that our news stations have been covering covering up all the, all this information, facts, evidence about these capital crimes. Okay. The second one to show up was Mike Nagler, Sheriff Deputy Mike Nagler, and he died in line of duty in 2014. Okay, so we can't talk to him. Ain't that convenient? Rosie Rodriguez and April Chandler were two of them, and their pictures were clear. These were caught inside my home, in my bedroom, and the log file shows they tried to disable the camera and accidentally started it. They didn't know that their pictures were being taken. I've got a video called Secrets of the, or Pictures of the Secret Place that shows the full pictures you could look at right here. But we could recognize Rosie Rodriguez. Come to find out, she was a lifelong friend of the ex-wife that's alleged to be involved in the shooting by her former boyfriend. And then we also could identify April Chandler, Officer April Chandler, because her face was real clear, but I didn't know who the other ones were, okay? And that's where Empire Private Investigations identified him. Dickie, okay, right here, he was a lieutenant, okay, and he was time-stamped in my home at 11:05, and he wasn't seen arriving on the cameras that saw Woodward and Naylor. That's how I know that they come in from under my home, okay, from where I shot, the now removed trap door and entrance that was the ex-wife already told me about. Then there's Greg Chatwell, Greg Nelson, Marty Barrett. He's the CSI, okay. Remember, he's the one that picked up my shotgun, and he didn't mention any tripwire. Remember, Rosie Rodriguez made a lie up and said there was a tripwire on my gun, but there's no tripwire in evidence. Nobody else mentioned the tripwire, including Marty Barrett, the CSI that picked up my gun. Chad Simpson right here, he's a Midland K-9 police officer. Mike Naylor is he's a sheriff deputy that died in 2014. Mark Gilliam, Michael Glick, and then John Woodward. Like I said, this is Midland County, and that's a Martin County sheriff. I believe that John Woodward's now a convicted felon, though. He's no longer the sheriff over there. And so any of these people could have been, or all of them could have been involved in this premeditated home invasion capital murder attempt. I believe they were probably in the underground home in the backyard having a party. Ex-wife had told me that a lot of people were here on the night that I was shot. Okay, so I'm going to move on. On October 9th, 2014, Secret Police and Midland Sheriff Mike Nagler was alleged to have been shot during the line of duty. Some people have asked if he was going to snitch on the other secret police, so they killed him in Blaine Higgins. His family was never told, this is Naylor's family, was never told that he was a secret police who had a reward offered for his identity when he died. And I have a recent video called Naylor's Family Was Never Told. And that was based on that's a recent video because a family member of Mike Nagler didn't know that Mike was one of those secret police. And now he's dead. He didn't know, the family was never told that I had a $2,000 reward offered to identify him. And some people are asking, and maybe Mike was, he was a good guy, maybe he was going to snitch on them other secret police, and that would expose the $1 million underground homes and the parties and the murders and everything else and all the other homes that are rigged like mine. Okay, and so then we're going to move on December 13th. Now, keep in mind, that's only, 3 months later. On December 13th, 2014, just 2 months later, I posted a story to my Facebook called Rape and Murder, which was about the murder of the young girl at the 2010 oil show party that my friend Angie had told me about. She was afraid to report this murder and said that high-level police were at the party, okay? This Facebook post included a secret police picture of Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson inside my home. Of course, I didn't know who it was until 2018. This is 2014. I'm going to show you this. This is a screenshot from my Facebook, and it's timestamped December 13th, 2014. Rape and Murder is that story. I actually read this rape and murder story in a video called Forced Prostitution Murder. It's on my YouTube channel, Forced Prostitution Murder, because this is about the murder that Angie told me about of the young girl at the oil show party in 2010 that didn't want to prostitute and didn't wake up. They murdered her, okay? And so... But here, let me pull that back up again. But the big thing is right here was a guy wearing a Midland K-9 police jacket in my home. Well, I didn't know who that was, right? But then all of a sudden, 2 days later, let that sink in, 2 days later, okay, after I posted that to my Facebook, Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson was alleged to have murdered his young wife, Sandra Simpson, and then killed himself while his children were in the house. The question had been asked if he was going to snitch on the other secret police, and they were murdered to cover it up. But officially, he was the secret police that went on to murder somebody else after being caught in my home. And so that answers the question of my Facebook post. Who was the secret police went on to murder somebody else? Chad Simpson was the secret police, went on to murder Sandra Simpson, allegedly, anyway, okay? Here's the news story. Midland police officer shoots wife's self in apparent murder-suicide, okay? This was text messages from my private investigator who said he found a witness that was a friend of Chad's that said Chad told him he was in my house, and Chad was a Midland K-9 police officer, and that picture, as you saw, was a Midland K-9 police officer. So I'm convinced that Chad Simpson was in my house. So you can see the timing of that is just incredible. Also, I'd sent that rape and murder story, I'm going to show you in a minute, to the then Governor Rick Perry and to then Attorney General Greg Abbott, who's now governor of Texas, okay? And so next comment, many people have wondered if Sandra would be alive today and those two babies would not be orphans if Chad had been arrested for his connection to the murder attempt on my life. Remember, he was a secret police in my house and his name wasn't even on the police report. I believe this obstruction of justice is a big factor in her death. Rest in peace, Sandra, and may your children learn the truth someday. And I think we can all agree that them two orphans of Chad and Sandra's need to know the truth about this. They need to know that Chad had a reward offered for his identity and he was caught in my house, right? They need to know about this rape and murder story posted 2 days with his picture in it before their mama is murdered, right? And see, Sandra here, she was a nurse here. She's an innocent victim like me. She was home minding her own business. That was just like me. I was home minding my own business. These killers came to my home, and shot me, cut my phone line, shot me by surprise, So I can relate to Sandra because she's a victim like me. And we say murder, suicide. Keep in mind, that means that one person didn't choose to die and one person chose to kill the other one, right? Let's keep that in mind. She's an absolute victim. And according to the official story, he's the killer. Okay, so one of the secret police goes on to murder somebody else. Okay, that's the answer to the question. Now I have some older screenshots of what I want to show you is, I think you're going to find this interesting and it's related to this, is that back in 2012, and this is December 2012, okay, and I'm shot January, so this is later in the year, another 11 months later, I installed a Vivint alarm system in my attic to prove these crimes were going on. And it dispatched the police to my home 2 times, okay? And the Vivint alarm system in my attic, the police that got here refused to look, and then they smeared my name on the reports, okay? And then I got a letter from the city threatening to fine me if my alarm system reported somebody, in the attic, And right now, look there's a light on. There's a security light on in my attic right now. I just looked up and saw that. I thought I'd show you that. But anyways, these crimes are nonstop. But here, what I want to show you on this police report, look who's here. Chad Simpson, right? That Chad Simpson, and it was in 2014, 2 years later, when he was alleged to have murdered his wife, 2 days after I posted the rape and murder story. And then you can see it was Bracken that wrote this comment, right? He thinks people are in the walls. And I really believe that was an inside joke, and they actually knew that was actually the truth. Because what's happening is they're tunneling under a home, modifying a wall with hidden crawl space, going up an attic. And not just my home, they have rigged homes all over Midland, Odessa, Texas, and other states. I was shot with burglar alarms going on in my attic, and now homeowners all over the country are documenting, reporting people, and all over Midland, Odessa. I saw a young Hispanic guy in my attic. I suspect maybe it's connected to illegal immigration, human trafficking. That's why I contacted Homeland. But the reason I put this in here was to show you Simpson's connection to that, okay? Also, I want to go here, and about 6 weeks before Chad murdered his wife, or allegedly murdered his wife, I emailed here Mayor Morales, and I asked, can you confirm if any of these people are or were Midland police officers? Because I had pictures of police and no names, okay? And so I sent that to the mayor, the then mayor of Midland, and that was in 2014, October 29, 2014. This also was sent to most of the other city council members. Lacey, some of them are still city council members to this day. That mayor is no longer in office, but you know, it's a fair question. I'm a citizen, right? And I got pictures of police in my home, and I can't get them identified. Are they real police, or are they criminals dressed like police? What's going on here? This is lawlessness. And I didn't get any answer, and that's important, because if he would have answered, would Sandra be alive today? And two little babies have their parents? If he would have just done his duty and answered this fair question. This one I want to show you is an email that I sent to Greg Abbott, Governor Rick Perry, and the Texas Rangers, and it's dated 12/14/14, and it's called Rape and Murder. Okay, and it was actually the next day on 12/15. What happened is I sent the wrong email. Okay, I copied and pasted the wrong email, and so I went back the next day on 12/15, and I had the right headline, but I had the wrong story. So I posted the right one, apologized, and I resent a second email on 12/15, and that was the day that Chad was alleged to have murdered Sandra. And so, I've suggested before, let's ask Greg Abbott, Governor Rick Perry of the Texas Rangers, what did y'all do when I sent you this rape and murder story about that little girl being murdered at the 2010 oil show party? Would Sandra be alive once again? Okay, and this is just a news story. I think this was CBS 7 news story that they later deleted. I don't think you can find this anymore, but I had a print screen of it, and it happened at a Midland police officer's home, investigating as a murder-suicide. The officer was found dead. It's believed he's the one that pulled the trigger, okay? Here, my next one here. And this was a City of Midland news release, and it's another just news story. Midland police officer responded to a silent 911 call originating from the address of 34-year-old Sergeant Chad Simpson. So there was a hang-up police 911 call, and then when they went over there, they found Chad and Sandra dead and found the two babies in the house, as if Chad had murdered his wife, killed himself, and left them two babies in there, and he made the 911 call, I guess, so somebody would come get his kids. That's, what we're supposed to believe anyway. And upon arrival, first responders found Simpson deceased with a gunshot wound. His wife, 32-year-old Sandra, was transported to Midland Memorial Hospital, life-threatening injuries, gunshot wound. She died a few days later. Okay, the crime scene was handed over to Odessa Police Department. Investigation is being conducted by the Texas Rangers. He was a K-9 police officer. Remember the guy wearing the K-9 police jacket in my house? The Simpsons leave behind two toddlers. Okay, so they have two orphan babies now. A lot of people told me Chad was a good guy, and a lot of people are wondering if that, he wasn't silenced, he wasn't going to snitch on the other secret police, and that was going to expose the $1 million underground homes and the other crimes, and they were taken out, but I have no evidence of that. We need real law enforcement to investigate. This was just what I did was put, San Antonio, it's the same story over and over again. That's in Lubbock, that's another one in Lubbock. Cop wife found dead, mystery 911 call. You see that here, News West 9 and the Midland Reporter Telegram, and all about this murder-suicide, okay? Here is Chad's obituary. We looked at Sandra's obituary. He was born in Hobbs, New Mexico, my hometown. Isn't that what a coinky dinky, right? What a coincidence, right? I knew people in his family, and it shows he was a K-9 police officer. See, I didn't have no idea who that K-9 police officer was until after this murder-suicide happened, and that's when I started wondering, but I didn't even have confirmation until 2018 when the private investigator collected the reward money and identified all of them. And then Caden and Marie are the two orphan children, and supposedly Chad murdered their mama. That's the story, okay, the official story, okay. I didn't plan on double clicking that because it takes too long, but I did. Okay, this was just a message I got, this guy, Beeto Juice. And I thought this was real interesting. It's connected to this. And he says, I lived a couple houses over the night it happened. I was coming home from out of town, and I arrived to police and SWAT, I believe in my yard and on the roof of my house. From my understanding that night, there was a suspect on the run. Now, isn't that interesting? So there was a suspect, but now the story is Chad killed Sandra, right? I just remember hearing that they were looking for a person that fled the scene. And you might be right about it being someone someone trying to tie up a loose end, as in this murder suicide is real convenient, and that just covered everything up, and there ain't no witnesses. Here I got a picture. This guy threatened me. This was a cousin of Chad Simpson. This is Chad and his cousin is a Lubbock cop. And I think if you Google him, maybe Jeff's his name. I think that's right. The city of Lubbock got sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars because they beat this city or this marshal or something. These police officers beat a marshal. I don't know the exact story, but y'all can look it up. But he was one of the guys that the city paid off because it was like, it wasn't just a regular citizen. It was a U.S. marshal or something that was severely beaten up, and they were rewarded hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I believe that Chad's cousin was one of them. But Chad, he sent me some real hateful messages, during this time, because there was a long time before it was said that, Chad wasn't in your house. Actually, his family was telling me over and over and over again, Chad wasn't in his house. See, I knew his aunt Patty Trimley, and Patty told me that the Texas Rangers told the family that he had his camera on in his car, so they knew nobody came in the house, and so it had to be Chad that killed Sandra. But, that just made me wonder, though, if maybe that house has underground access or something, that'd be real possible. Then nobody's seen coming in the house, I'm just trying to put all this together, okay? Here's another guy. His name is Milford, okay? A guy named Milford, and I posted this, dated 12/19, whatever it is, I left out the 14-15, who threatened me saying, if you don't stop this nonsense about Chad Simpson, I will sue you for slander. This is the only post I will send to cease and desist. Of course, I blocked him. And see, what is happening is Milford here, and maybe somebody wants to talk to Milford about what he knows about them underground homes, because I was saying, I think Chad is the one in my house. When I found out he was a Midland K-9 police officer, that's what I was posting. And it was, 4 years later before it's confirmed Chad was in my house, and Milford was going to sue me for suggesting that Chad was in my house. He was caught on camera wearing his Midland K-9 police jacket. Okay, here's another aunt, this family member of Chad Simpson. Okay, related to Patty. Remember, I know Patty. Okay, and here's what she says here in this private message between Annette Peacock's her name, or Annette Elliott Peacock, and she says, no, I know he murdered his wife and left his precious babies orphans. And, and then she goes on, you can effing rent uniforms. That's how serial killers abduct so many. You need sued for slander. Once again, here their family's trying to sue me because I'm suggesting that Chad Simpson was in my house, but now we know it was because it was identified by the private investigator. And I wrote back and I said, sue CBS 7 and the chief of police. And I inserted a news article on there because I was quoting a news article. And then I also wrote, you can help clear Chad's name and help me at the same time by just contacting the Midland Police Department and demanding they identify the police in the pictures, the secret police. See, that was the problem. The secret police were not identified. I'm trying to get them identified for 6 years. I'm telling her, I'm suspecting that Chad, your family member, was in my house. He was one of the secret police, and they're threatening to sue me. And then she writes back, Annette Peacock Elliott, call Nancy Grace. I'm not going to help you. And so, once again, I highly suspect Annette Elliott Peacock may know something about the underground homes and the crimes here, Maybe law enforcement wants to talk to her. Here was another video I did one time, because what I did, and I've done this on the attic investigation videos, where people have reported people in the attic. I look at their neighbors, their next door neighbors, because I believe that's where a tunnel entrance comes. It's the shortest path, and then they can come over. Like I said earlier, it goes under a house, up a modified wall, into the attic. Of course, they're only in the attic when you're home. When you're gone off to work, whatever, then they have your whole home to do whatever they want. They can use it for prostitution tricks, whatever. They get your passwords. They have total access to your wife. They take pictures of your nude children. They can do all that. And there's so many of them. It's amazing how many people reported people in the attic. But what I'm showing here, this was Chad Simpson's house here. Chad Simpson. and it was sold in 2015, okay? And it looks like he bought it in 2005. So that's the time range I'm looking. And on this side was a guy named Ted Stanford, so I Googled that. Is he work in the oil field? Is there a tunnel coming from this house to that house? And then I come over here, and I wasn't looking at that one, but more looking at who lived there when Chad died. Some guy named Roger Willis Brown, it was another. And this one was behind the house. It was a LaWanda Green, And so there's some people at law enforcement, if they want to do a true investigation, is talk to, check, investigate, because I believe there's many homes rigged with this hidden underground access. Okay. Finally, I'm going to end this right here. Let's put this together. Here we got Mike Nagler, Secret Police Mike Nagler dies October 9th, 2014. Okay, and then 2 months later, here Chad Simpson, December 15th, 2014, he dies, right? Another Secret Police. Neither one of these guys had their name on the police report, but they were both seen at my house in the premeditated capital attempted murder of my life. Okay, and then Sander here died on the 18th, a few days later, allegedly murdered by the father of their children, right? And so I think it's worthy of an investigation. And so now you know who the secret police that went to murder somebody else. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.